And now what I'm going to show you is very interesting and is really gonna blow your mind. The whole social media industry. Hi guys, it's Marco here. So today we look at Twitter and the CEO who has left and been replaced by another one. We look at the stock and we understand if Twitter is a buy or not. And this is the bit of news. Twitter CTO Parag Agrawal, sorry I will butcher his name but bear with me, will replace Jack Dorsey as CEO. So here's the challenge. Will Agrawal be able to deliver better than Jack Dorsey? We are gonna look at that in just 1 second. But first, just to let you know that in this channel, I study the direction of the whole market and some whole industries. And today we look at the social media industry. Let's dive into it. And so this is what Agrawal will have to do as CEO of Twitter. Agrawal will have to meet Twitter's aggressive internal goals, and that means that the company will have to aim to increase to 315 million monetizable daily active users by the end of 2023 and to at least double its annual revenue by that year. And so those are really big shoes to fill, but the good thing is that the new CEO has not really new as such. Agrawal, who served as CTO since 2017, has been with Twitter for more than a decade, guys. And so the good thing is that Agrawal is already inside the company, so he knows the company very well, which is positive, right? But at the same time, if it was someone from outside, that would bring some more innovation. And you have a trade-off here. Basically, on one side, you have someone who's already inside, who is not gonna just rock the boat too much and also able to hit the ground running. And this is the good thing. But regardless, investors will wait and see if this new CEO, Agrawal, will be able to deliver and probably increase the revenues and EBITDA. That's probably what is going to happen. But to do that, the new CEO will have to increase the number of users, active users online. So as you can see from 2010, this is Twitter, by the way, this is the chart from 2010 to 2019. And later we're gonna look at how many people as well for 2021. I'm sorry, there is a gap for 2020, but bear with me. But the point being, the growth, the real hyper growth was from 2010 all the way to 2016. Then from that moment onwards, we kind of plateaued a little bit. The growth wasn't as quick as it used to be in the previous 10 years, actually 5 years. And so, as you can see, this is where the challenge was. Basically, they have to get out of this stagnation that is affecting the platform. But you cannot talk about Twitter without talking about Facebook. And Facebook, I'm afraid, guys, has just been through one of the worst rebranding of all time. The company has really now turned on its head. And of all the big tech stocks, is one of those that has suffered the most. And the stock price reflects that big time. But still, let's have a look at how many users has got Twitter versus Facebook, or now called Meta platforms. So these are the global social network ranked by number of users in 2021. So Facebook, YouTube, you see that Facebook is at the absolute top. Then we have YouTube, WhatsApp, but you see that the very top is basically owned by Facebook, Meta platforms, all of those. Then we go down, we see TikTok, we see Telegram and Snapchat. And where is Twitter? Here it is, down here, position number, I don't even know, it's just so down. Probably this is position number 10 or I don't know, it's so down the list. Look at that. Basically the number of users on Twitter is basically 1/10, almost 1/10 than Facebook. Probably actually way less if you add up Facebook, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, Instagram. Basically, it's nothing compared to Facebook, which is actually good news for Twitter and not very good news for Facebook, because Facebook has basically run out of people on the planet. Jokes aside, Facebook is really struggling, and basically they have to really blow our minds with the new metaverse. So that's something for another video which I'm gonna make very soon, so stick around. But importantly, Twitter has got a lot of room to expand and adapt more users to their platform. But users is definitely something that does not really matter too much to investors like myself. And so another important thing that is actually very important are actually revenues. So let's compare Twitter to Facebook. And so this is it. So we have Twitter now, looking at what we have done over the years for Twitter, and you see that the growth is there. There's been a bit of growth over 2020 and 2021, but then going into the future, we see that the growth is actually probably a hope more than anything else. Like looking, this is the estimate, and we see that it kind of goes up, but what is lacking, especially in the last 3 quarters, and I believe this is the reason why they booted out Jack Dorsey. So look at the difference. So end of 2020, 500 million of EBITDA. Then first quarter of 2021, we literally halved the amount of EBITDA. Basically, that is not really reflected in the revenues. The revenues went down, but we literally lost half of it. So not really a reflection of the revenues. And then again, the last quarter they delivered, the EBITDA went a little bit down, and instead the revenues went up. So a complete shambles. The last 3 quarters were a shamble. And that is compared to Facebook, that is basically just, it's a powerhouse. Look at these numbers here. They are growing so much. Even in the last quarter, they grew kind of like not quarter on quarter, which is probably what investors want the most. They just want every quarter to be bigger than the previous and so on. But just looking at the numbers, like Twitter is basically earning 1/20th than Facebook, just literally 1/20th than Facebook. And so that tells you what kind of headroom there is for Twitter as a company and as a stock. And now what I'm going to show you is very interesting and is really gonna blow your mind. The whole social media industry has delivered negative returns in 2021. No kidding, apart from Facebook. Now, as you can see, Pinterest is actually down 38% from January 2021. Then Twitter is down the beauty of 7%. Snapchat basically flat, but even down minus 2% almost. Facebook instead is up 29%. And so what that tells me, and this is very obvious, is that this market is awarding the market leaders. And that can be applied to all industries, to Tesla, to Google, and we're looking at Microsoft, basically all the companies that are already leader in their sector, and they seem to have a very strong, basically they are able to grow despite being already the leaders. They seem to be those that the market seem to put more money into it. And if you look at what happened over the year in January, a massive drop for Twitter and Pinterest. But even just looking at what happened in October was a disaster for all companies in the social media industry and even beyond. Look, everything went down apart from Facebook, the usual Facebook, Tesla, Microsoft, Apple, all these ones, they went up. And basically what these big investors are doing, they're selling the losers, as it were, making them even worse. And the losers are Snapchat and Twitter, and pumping their money into the winners, Facebook, Tesla, and everyone else. So will I buy Twitter or not? Will I put in my stock portfolio or not? Well, I don't think Twitter would be a good fit in my portfolio as of now. My portfolio is growing very nicely and has grown a lot in 2021. To be honest, if you want to see the whole portfolio, just join my Patreon group. It's just $3 a month, and I'm gonna help you building your very own portfolio based on your goal. But moving on, the main thing that the markets are struggling with now is not just valuation, is not many other things. They're afraid of the I word. Yes, I'm talking about interest rates. And in this channel, I give news and updates on whatever is happening in the whole market, and interest rates is a very hot topic. And so stick around, because on this channel, we're gonna talk about many industries, but also the whole market. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.